Hey, I'm Dr. Brian Kinslow here at Evolve Flagstaff, taking you through today how we are going about programming home workouts in our home training programs. And one takeaway before we even dive in is that what I'm going to lay out is really the essentials of good workout programming, period. Whether you're at home or in a gym with equipment, these are tenets of really good programming in an effective way. However, when you're at home, man, we got to get beyond just doing push-up challenges and burpees and squats, because if we're at home for the next couple of weeks, maybe even longer, we need to be really thoughtful with how we're going about doing this, so that way you see results, you stay healthy, you avoid injuries, and you feel great in the long term. So we got to settle into a rhythm of working out at home that is thoughtful and comprehensive and makes sense from a broader view. So we're going to dive into how we do that here at Evolve. So first, we got 7 days of the week up here above me. And so we're given something in our programs for all 7 days. And so we have 2 strength workouts. Those are on Mondays and on Thursdays. We have 2 conditioning workouts on Tuesdays and Fridays. We have 2 different types of recovery workouts on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then on Sundays, we encourage you to get outside your house, in a physically distant way, of course, but go explore the outside world, get out of breath, do something fun. It's incredibly good for mental health as well as physical health. So just going to break these down. Our strength workouts, those are less intended to have a heart rate response, but more intended to train the muscles. We're going to have another video all about those strength workouts. The conditioning workouts, that's when we get the heart rate up. We're going to build some muscle endurance for sure, but we're primarily getting a cardiorespiratory response. Our 2 conditioning workouts, we have one that we call soft tissue recovery. That's where we're working through some trigger points with some foam rolling or using a tennis ball or a cross ball. We're doing maybe some breath work to downregulate the nervous system. We're doing some specific mobilizations in areas that people commonly feel tight or restricted, such as the thoracic spine. So those are some targeted things to help people feel better and reduce injury risk. Then on Saturdays, Abby puts together our yoga flow recovery routine. So she has an incredible background as a yoga teacher, and she's bringing that to our Evolve community, and she's putting together a really fun flow with some breath work to really unwind, loosen up, and play with movement a little bit. So there's different purposes to those recovery workouts. So that's how we lay out a whole week. It's pretty systematic. Strength, conditioning, recovery, we repeat that, and then we get outside, and that's a whole week. Then in those workouts, we got a couple of things. So how do we program the workouts themselves? So we look at first, what are the big movement patterns a body can do? So with the upper body, we can pull things, meaning I can pull things towards me, that's horizontally, or I can pull things down, that's a vertical. So we want to work our horizontal and our vertical pulls. As a side note, I think these are some of the most important things to put in a home program because they're the hardest things for people to do on their own. We got our pushing movements, our horizontal push, a push-up, and a vertical push, lifting things overhead. Most people can kind of figure those out on their own. So we do work those in our programs for sure, but this is what people are already doing a ton of in their push-up challenges. So we make sure we program a healthy dose of pulling to keep the shoulders healthy, keep the upper back healthy, the neck healthy, as well as see some results in other areas of the upper body. Then we got our lower movements. So the lower, we divide them into a squat, hips move up and down, a hip hinge or a deadlift movement, and a lunge or a single leg movement. So we want to hit all 3 of those at least a couple of times each week. So we're not just hitting the squat movement patterns or the quads. That's typically what people do when left to their own devices. Finally, we got our core movements. And so we divide core into 2 broad categories. Our stability movements, meaning there's no motion happening. So something like a plank where we're not moving. And then our dynamic movements, traditionally a sit-up would be in the dynamic movement category, but we have lots of different options of stability and dynamic that go way beyond planks and sit-ups. Those are just some easy examples. And then generally, we think within those two movement categories, we have three different areas of the torso that we consider the core. So roughly, we think the front, or the rectus and transverse abdominis, the sides, the different oblique muscles, and then the back, which we consider both the glutes and the multifidus and the paraspinals. So we're being comprehensive in how we're thinking about our core training as well. Finally, as our final layer on all of these programs, we have some other factors. So each workout starts with an activation routine. That's how we warm our athletes up. In that, we include some dynamic mobility to prepare for the workout, get the joints moving, and some key drills to help with injury prevention, primarily of the hips and shoulders. We also think about equipment. So our head strength coach, Derek, has been incredibly creative, coming up with lots of different movements within these categories, with mini bands, with body weights, with backpacks. So we know you have limited equipment, so we got to deal with that. Then we have tempo and plyometrics. That's the speed at which we're doing movements. We can do things really slow to make them harder, or we can actually do things really fast to make them harder, and we'll play with those. And we want to do both because our muscles and tendons respond in different ways. Slow movements tend to be really good for tendons. That's eccentric control, whereas plyometrics, that helps us develop power and speed. So we want to do both within the program. Finally, we have our accessory isolation exercises. So we've seen, after writing hundreds of programs, working with all types of athletes, injured and not, certain muscle groups tend to need more work in most people. This can be the calves, the hamstrings, the triceps, the back of the shoulder, and a couple others. So sometimes we'll isolate movements outside of our broad categories because we see that a lot of people need some work there. And then we're going to combine all these elements in unique and creative ways week to week, so that way things stay fresh and they don't get stagnant even when you're working out at home. So as you can see, there's a lot of factors to consider. If you made it with me this far on the video, thank you for watching. We really take a lot of time to program all of these things out. We can always go deeper in a physical therapy appointment or a phone call or video call with Derek, our head strength coach. If you need more personalization, we can certainly do that. But we found that for 80 to 90% of people who are working out at home, if we consider all of these factors, they're going to be in pretty good shape, at least to start out. So that's how we put it together. If you have any questions, just let us know. We are here for you during this time period, and we hope you get after these home workouts.